Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We are going to start the event. So my name is Keshav Kant. I am an inside sales team at Crave Infotech. Before getting started, I would like to ensure some housekeeping to show you that you can interact with myself and the speaker. Firstly, if you have any want to ask presenter a question, we have Q&A section and chat feature enabled. You can also click on the hand raise icon on the top of your screen to ask any questions. We will be also launching poll questions in today's webinar. We invite you all to participate for poll questions when they appear on your screen. We will be having Q&A sections at the end of the webinar to answer all your questions. Now I would like to welcome Patrick and Srikant. We are so glad you could be here today to share your insights on RFID data capture in warehousing, gaining the visibility that drives operational efficiency. We have Patrick Willett, Chief Growth Officer at Crave Infotech, having 20 plus years of industry experience. As a speaker, we have Srikant from Crave Infotech. He's a digital transformation architect, experience in SAP Digital Core, enterprise asset management, enterprise mobility, and cloud platforms. He has 27 plus years of industry experience helping organizations in wide range of technology and technological changes for multiple line of business. Now, without a further ado, I would hand over to Srikant to start the presentation. Over to you, Srikant.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
I can
and you
hear
are
you.
audible.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for the introduction. I appreciate. Thank you everybody joining this webinar. And in next 20 minutes, we will walk you through the RFID enablement for effective supply chain automation. RFID is a big, not only a buzzword, but it's a reality now. Next slide, Keshav. So RFID, I remember, Keshav, next slide, please. 10 years back, I used to talk about RFID, and most of the places when we try to do some kind of assessment, it will fail at the price point. And the price point wasn't there. The technology was not mature, but it has changed a lot in last couple years. So today, the agenda is we'll talk about transforming operations with smart data capture, portfolio and product for warehousing applications, how RF-enabled mobile application increase ROI up to 60%, next generation warehousing, and how Crave is transforming supply chain with the help of RFID capabilities, and Zebra RFID capabilities is some interesting. Now, of course, I may not go exactly by the sequence, but this will cover into next slide, Keshu, into the next 15 minutes we have, 20 minutes. Next slide. I think you talked about that. So some of the challenges in the warehousing right now, and I don't have to repeat this, and you guys are testimony to it yourself if you are into the warehousing process and the business. So there are a lot of redundant processes with time, procedures with time, consuming labor tasks, right? It's taking more time. Inaccuracy and inefficiency in handling inventory, difficult to manage stocking and picking orders with diverse product portfolio, high labor costs leading to increased bottleneck. And this has become more and more difficult through the pandemic. Today, we know that the logistics, the commodity prices and also the consumer goods prices have gone up substantially because of the logistical challenges, getting items on time. I was talking to one of my friend yesterday, and they had hotel operations, and their cooking stove break. The earliest cooking stove available is 5 weeks. Nobody can afford that. So there are a lot of things are going on, and that's where RFID is playing a substantial role. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we're going to talk about trends and drivers. So unrelenting pressure for efficiency. We are used to it now. We want better and better. Uh, Companies like I see two organizations who has created a huge disruption in last decade. One is of course Apple. They got us used to the smartphone, and we want everything quick now. We cannot wait for other people to respond. When we send them a text, we expect them to respond in few minutes. Otherwise, we get restless. That was not the time before smartphone. And the second is what's going on with Amazon. Amazon is delivering goods in hour or 2 hours. This is just unheard of. Sometimes we cannot go to the store and get the stuff in an hour, but that's happening now with the delivery. So there is a tremendous pressure for efficiency. Near shore, cross docking, item visibility, real time location, automation. There are so many of these expectations we need to meet. Next slide. And warehouse operations must keep pace with all these expectations. Isolated systems and external visibility gaps, labor shortage, disconnected workers and workflow. Of course, there has to be very clear connection between the warehouse, the loading, and the field service or people who are out in the field. All those needs to be very well stitched together. Bottlenecks and asset inventory, blind spot, rising workflow complexities, error and compliance. Next slide, please. So let's talk about what are the trends in warehousing. So customer expectations outside the warehouse demand more now. So if you look at the digital transformation process, most of the transformation first happened in finance, because CEOs and everybody wanted to make sure they get the reports what they want. Then it came to the manufacturing. Then it came to the warehouse. Now it's out in the field. So there is a lot of focus in that area for field service delivery, proof of delivery. So pressure is increasing inside the warehouse to process more. Order volume is at an all-time high. We have seen that throughout the pandemic. And number of SKUs have gone up a lot. Next slide. Continuing the trends. So what do we need to do to meet these expectations? We need to track better. We need to have better visibility. We need to have accuracy in the inventory. We cannot afford to pick one item and deliver something else than what was ordered. That accuracy has to be really good, and without any proper tracking mechanism, those level of accuracy, achieving that accuracy is very difficult. And that's where barcode, QR code, and RFID comes into the picture. Next slide. Now, what are the data capture solutions available in the field? Of course, it can be, the first level is the tracking. It can be barcode, RFID, or QR code. QR code can accommodate more than what is there in the barcode. Right? It helps you to get more information. And then you have RFID, so active or passive. So it depends upon the use case. You can have passive RFID, which helps you to track passively, and then you have active RFID, which will tell you where the goods are. So, and that's where you need to look at very closely with the use case and what is the best use of the technology. So the DCS is visibility. Capturing data capture at the source is absolutely necessary. Next slide. What are the customer goals for data capture? Fit to the application. As I mentioned, is it active? Is it passive? Is it short range? Is it long range? Is it ruggedized, semi-ruggedized? All that needs to be looked at. Cordless or corded. You might have specific reason why it needs to be corded. Lower cost of TCO, lower TCO, total cost of ownership. We need to look at the lesser failure rate, minimum processing time, minimum power consumption. You want to have a battery which will last there throughout the whole shift. Otherwise, there is a loss of time. or you need to buy additional batteries. So it has to be lower total cost of ownership, best in the class, most advanced digital optical designs, highest resolution imaging quality, unmatched working range, right? All these factors are coming into picture to meet the customer needs. Next slide. Now, what are the products available? And that's where we work with Zebra very closely. Um, we are Zebra's premier partner and reseller too. And there are very few selected partners or resellers are RFID enablers. We have to go through a very specialized training and validation, and that's where Crave comes into picture. So we understand because RFID and location services are such that they need a good level of understanding and also validation and assessment, site assessment to make sure that it's going to work because it's a radio frequency dependent devices and there can be many interferences depends upon how your site is structured. So there are several things which are supported by Zebra's RFID enabled products. Of course, the performance, the history, the ruggedness of the devices, and the outcome. And intelligent tools that simplify every stage of the scanning, productivity tools simplifies the integration, and of course, finally, the lower total cost of ownership. Next slide, please. These are some of the examples of the hardware you see on the top. Those are the that's a scanner, cordless scanner in the green color, and then the mobile device, which is I think it's MC33R, and that's what is the RFID reader with a mobile screen, so you can have an application which is loaded on that. On the right top corner, unattended RFID. So one is attended, there is unattended. In unattended, you can have antennas, and those antennas can be placed. Those act basically as a reader, and then you have the central hub where multiple readers can feed the data, and then that data can be aggregated to in your application. So there is a attended and unattended applications, hardware solutions are available as a part of this solution. And that's where all the assessment comes into picture, depends upon what you are trying to do. So some of the use cases, I'll talk more as we go forward, but let's go to the next screen, please. That's a good example. So this is portfolio by application, right? One on the left-hand top side is backroom shipping and receiving. Second is dock door staging area. Now this is where if your items are RFID enabled and you have readers on the dock doors and at different places, you know where the item's moving. You don't have to go and manually scan. So it depends upon use case. You can have manual scanner that is attended, and you can have fixed scanners. Those will scan without any attendance, and then you can get more efficiency. For example, we worked with a customer. They actually assemble or manufacture the kitchen equipments, and they have assembly line where it made sense to have fixed readers because that assembly line, the volume or the frequency of equipment moving from one stage to another is relatively low. So there is a very little chance of interfering multiple barcodes or QR codes or RFIDs. But there are another use cases in the same organization is once all the assembling is done, it goes into the warehouse where there are so many completed items needs to be shipped, and that's where mobile equipment or attended was necessary. So we work with our customers and identify what's the best suitable based upon the location, the culture, the process, what device and what form factor and what kind of combination is most important. On the right-hand side, we have stock picking, and then we have IT area. So all those kind of different examples and of use cases where the portfolio can be used. Next slide. It talks about the by application. Assembly line. I just explaining this about one of the customer about the assembly line. Operations area. Backroom shipping. and receiving, and then the warehouse. So every place will have different use cases for different types. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about, so that's about the challenges, the data capture uh, uh, devices and the sources available. Now let's talk about how we can put this into a real use case. So this is we call warehouse maturity model. So when Crave gets involved along with Zebra and SAP, we do an assessment and identify where your organization is on this maturity curve. So there are 5 phases of this maturity. Typically, most of the organizations in the phase 2. So first phase is, of course, I don't expect most of the organization on a paper, but they already have some sort of mobile application available for scanning. But next comes the analyzing that data. After that, identifying and building intelligence around that, and finally making it automated. So those are the different phases. And what we do, next slide, what we do is when we talk to you, we identify where your organization is and what tools and what methodology you need to follow so that you can mature through that maturity curve. This is just an example of the application one of our application for specific use case, but it goes way beyond this, right? Complete warehouse automation with RPA and voice automation, RFID, QR code, barcode, and AR enablement, smart device and app setup for mobile computing. And finally, we can also do the indoor routing. And I have another slide which we should walk through. Next one. Next slide, please. This is one of the use cases where this organization, it's a global organization. They were able to achieve 43.9% savings. And this is the complete validation, imaging, testing. This is how the application looks like. 19 countries, 39 locations. And this is the hardware they have used for this specific use case. And they are already in production for over a year now. Next slide. Can you get the whole slide, please? So this is kind of an open, clean slate, right? So you might have SAP, you might not have SAP, you might have different versions of SAP. Could you keep going, Keshav? Let's see if you can get, very good, very good. Yeah. Just go one by one. So you might have different SAPs, right? If you don't have, that's fine. RFID doesn't need SAP only. But then you would like to see, this is coming in a very different sequence. Go ahead and open up everything. Let me see how it goes. Unfortunately, the sequence is not right. So it can be barcode, right? Just stop there. It can be barcode, QR code. If you have any specific use cases, then you can do RFID, of course, passive, active. And if you need more integration and more automation, we can also do the forklift integration. Once you have that in place, you need mobile applications, right? That's where the left top comes. And that's where we identify which mobile hardware is most suitable for you, for your use case, for that location, for the culture and the product. Because you might have small size of products and they are onto the ground floor. It might be a good idea to have hands-free picking than an attended. If it is on the top of the shelves and you have shelves or 4-storied, it makes sense to have, and people have to use forklifts, it makes sense to have something which is mounted on the forklifts. So there are different use cases with an extended scanner. So that's where we get involved, talk to you, and make sure you have the right hardware. Because once hardware is a huge investment, sometimes it can be multiple times software investment, and you got to make sure that is correct. In addition to that, we also do site surveys, and I'll share this example. A large customer reached out to us saying, Shrikant, the Zebra hardware doesn't work. Very generic comment. And we sat down and we started understanding. We found out that their Wi-Fi network was too crowded. They themselves manufacture Wi-Fi routers, and they thought, okay, let's put more routers. The problem was multiple routers were overlapping the Wi-Fi data. And when the user is in that overlapping zone, mobile will get confused. Which network should I pick up? It was a simple problem that they overcrowded the networks within their warehouse, and that was causing. So when we did the assessment, we do a survey, and we told them where are the spots and what they need to do, and everything was right after that. So simple things can account for the inefficiency within the processes. Then, as I said, voice activated picking. If the items are small, they are on the lower end of the spectrum, you can. Finally, hands-free picking also we discussed. Yeah, keep going, Keshav. Let me see what else we have. Now this can be for any processes, right? Different processes, inbound, outbound, or cycle counting, dispatching, barcode printing, QR code printing, and RFID programming or printing. All of that is available into the application. Now, this is also another success story for a large global pharma and life sciences organization, where the challenge was to go back to the last slide, please, Keshav. The challenge was to enable their spares, and there are regulations which forces them to track how many times the QR code or barcode is printed, and how many times the items were scanned, and what's the inventory, and we help them to make sure that those high volume, low consumption items are effectively tracked, and provided them the visibility using QR code and RFID both. Next slide. Now, how does this mix up with Zebra and why we, right? So we basically bring together the ERP systems like SAP, hardware, and the tracking solution organizations like Zebra, and our applications. So our applications are validated by Zebra. What does that mean? They are validated and tested for memory leak. They are tested for battery usage. They're tested for user interface. They're tested for integration with your backend. Not only that, there is a way for you to program the application so that these devices are used effectively. The application needs to read the cameras correctly, the GPS correctly, the keyboard correctly, and also the scanning correctly. If that is not effectively programmed, the application will not work well. And that is what we have acquired and perfected within our organization. Next slide. Now let's a little bit about Crave Infotech, right? This is our journey. We are a 13-year-old company, started in 2007, different partnerships at different level. And here we are in 2021. Next slide. Another big discussion is about buy versus build. Every organization can build, but it's always challenging for organization to acquire all these skill sets correctly, and get right people with that experience and make sure the application is built correctly versus buy. So something like working with companies like Crave, our applications meet anywhere from 60 to 90% of the requirement for any customer. They never meet 100%. And remaining 10 to 40%, we manage through configuration and customization. And that's where it helps you two ways. If you are from IT, you are comfortable that you are bringing something to the business which is already tested and meets at least 60%. And if you are business, you are comfortable that you are not going to spend too much time testing it and perfecting it. So you have something to start. So it reduces the delivery time, and these are all the things we have mentioned. So there's always this now, and everybody wants quick results, right? Nobody has time to invest a year to develop an application and see how that's going to go. Next slide, please. A little bit about Crave, 15 years into the business. 50 plus applications. And of course, warehouse and EAM are core. 50 plus customers, 150 plus team size globally. So that helps us to give you pretty much support at least 16 by 5, 16 by 6, and rest can be upon request. Next slide. Several partnerships. We are also, just go back to last one. So we are a diversity organization, woman-owned organization, and went through, we've been Pinnacle Award finalists for SAP. That's an award given by SAP every year for very selected partners. And some of these partnerships and relationships with different vendors. Next slide. Now let's talk a little bit about our broader approach. So what do we specialize in? We talked about the warehouse, right? That's the second pillar here, but we have very specialized skill sets into the asset management. Supply chain includes proof of delivery, truck loading, truck latency, last mile tracking, venue mapping, and of course RFID and barcoding everywhere. Also, intelligent enterprise, so S4, SAP Cloud Platform, SAP BTP, UI UX, and custom application development. Next slide. So there might be something which we cannot meet through our standard offerings. And that's where what we have done is we have created reusable components. Those can be used to build any application for a specific need. Again, you get the benefit of tested reusable components and the knowledge base into this specific area to build the custom applications faster. A little bit about our services. Of course, we have a separate team which helps you to get resources. We always work jointly. We build upon your strengths. BTP enablement, we have offerings starting from 2 weeks. Fiori enablement, mobile application development. If you are already using SMP is SAP's mobile platform, we can help you to transition to BTP. And we do end-to-end SAP ERP implementation, ECC and S4. Next slide. This is a list of, we call 50 plus prepackaged solutions. This is the list of those solutions. On the left-hand side, starting from EAM, supply chain, life sciences, connected assets and IoT, order to cash, omni-channel approvals, management dashboard. So you can see for almost every department within the organization, we have prepackaged solution available. Next slide, please. So coming to the end, so we talked about RFID. Right? So RFID is definitely changing the landscape. Everybody's thinking about it. It's easy to install, easy to use, much lower price point than what it was, but it also gives you a lot of flexibility to provide that visibility. So IoT is also another big buzzword, but IoT is only successful if you can replace your devices, your sensors, and that's a much bigger task. But the RFID can give you that one step closer by monitoring different points without disrupting your production process and what you have right now. So we should open up for Q&A. If you have any use cases in RFID enablement in asset management, warehouse or supply chain, we'll be happy to talk to you. We do assessments which are complementary and helping you to understand the technology, helping you to understand the offerings, and then it's up to you to decide how to move forward. Yeah, sure. Back to you.
Thank you, Srikant. Thank you for your insights on this. We have started the poll questions. We would like you to participate in it, and also open the Q&A sections. We have one question from Sylvia Frank. Are you going to share the slides? Yes. Hello. Yeah. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sure. We can share the slides. Yeah. So there is one question only.
Okay, that's good. So again, we do free assessment. We work with Zebra closely. If we have to involve Zebra, we can do that and help you to see where the RFID might be helpful and most suitable within your processes and your process challenges to resolve your process challenges. You can reach out to us. I think these are the contact details. Yeah, you can reach out to us on this email. Also, there is another common email, contact@craveinfotech.com. Can you type that email, Keshav, into the chat so that they have? Please feel free to send us an email and we can talk through. Okay, excellent. Let's give a few minutes back to everybody and have a nice day. Thank you for joining.
We do have one question from Stephen
Okay.
Wells. The question is, what temperature range can RFID text be used in? Some of our products come off the production line at 500 to 600 degrees Celsius, and we would need to use RFID on those.
Excellent question. There are now new generation RFID tags available which will last much higher temperature. We'll have to check specific use case, Stefan. If you'd like to share your contact details and we can set up separate time and understand what your use case is. But yes, there are RFID tags available now which last for much higher temperature, harsh environment. Yes, we did a use case with an organization who does the cloth washing. Of course, they have to, some of those industrial clothes needs to be put through much higher temperature and higher pressure and also spinning environment, and they were able to last. So let's have a separate conversion if needed. Thank you for sharing your email. I know it takes some time to type. We'll wait. We'll be here for another 5 minutes. No problem. Please feel free to type your questions.
Did you get any, did anybody ask the panelists, fill out the panelist forms?
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to update you once again. We do have the poll question on. We will be ending in a few more minutes and wait for you to participate in it. Hi, Shikant. I think we don't have any questions. Anyone do have any questions? I will allow them to speak. They can raise their hands.
Well, I think we're good.
Okay, great.
Let's
Thank you.
go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. Thank you everyone for joining for today's webinar. We will be sharing you the webinar recording, and if you do have any questions or any challenges, you can reach out to us on contact@craveinfotech.com. We will be happy to meet you separately. Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining the today's webinar.
Bye now. Have a good day.
Bye bye. Bye bye.